Log on, tune in, find out. Another good idea from Cambridge.
So welcome to this special extra evening lecture on Satish Kumar, who we have already encountered and heard from. I just want to say a little bit more about him because he is, in case you didn't know that, a really quite remarkable individual. I first heard Satish about 3 years ago at a seminar in London on a panel of various experts, and he stood out for his imagination and inspiration, and a riveting and compelling speaker. And when we began to put this conference together, he was right up at the top of my list of people that we wanted to invite. So we're really very delighted that Satish has agreed to be with us today. I later heard him tell his life story on a Radio 3 program on the BBC. And although I haven't read his autobiography, I'm very much inclined to because it's quite an extraordinary and interesting and fascinating life. Let me just embarrass him by saying a little bit about his life. When he was 9 years old, Satish joined the Wandering Brotherhood of Jain monks at the age of 9. That's remarkable. At the age of 18, he left that order and began a campaign for land reform, applying Gandhi's ideas. His journey included, subsequently, an 8,000-mile peace pilgrimage, wandering from India to America without any money at all. I'll read the whole thing. Through deserts, mountains, storms. I can't resist the next. It was an adventure during which he was thrown into jail in France. Anyway, colourful stories, I'm sure. He came to England in 1973, and since then has been the editor of Resurgence magazine. You'll already have seen a display of that Resurgence outside, so please do take a look at that later. His autobiography has sold over 50,000 copies. He's won an award for promoting Gandhi values abroad and has a mere 3 honorary doctorates. He is, you could say, if there is such a role, he is one of Britain's ecological elders. Unfortunately, he's leaving tomorrow morning first thing, so if you haven't had a chance to talk to him and you want to, then do so right after this session. And he's kindly agreed to sign some of his books, which are on sale on the book table outside after the session, so do make it there if you'd like to do that. Shortly after our session, one of his associates, Sharon Garfinkel, is going to say a little bit about Resurgence, and I'll call upon her when the session is finished. Satish is going to speak for about 30 minutes, and then we should have 10-15 minutes, or maybe a little bit more, for questions and discussion afterwards. It's a great honour to welcome Satish.
Thank you. Very much. I won't stand behind there. I prefer to be a bit closer. It is a great pleasure for me to be part of this wonderful and very enlightening conference. And I've met wonderful people in this conference. And talking about spirituality and sustainability is a very favorite subject of myself, because I feel that much of the sustainability movement, environment movement, green movement, ecology movement, whatever you want to call it, is largely driven by fear. I don't want to be part of a movement which is driven by fear. I want to be part of a movement which is driven by love. Since we are in this spiritual, religious conference, I would like to say that the most wonderful thing about nature is that it inspires love. When you see flowers blossoming, when you see fruit blooming, when you see wonderful, gorgeous lakes and birds in the sky, and when you see trees and forests and animals. I made a film for the BBC as well called Earth Pilgrim. And My film was based on Dartmoor, which is one of England's most beautiful wild spot that if you want to visit. And so when you are in nature, you are inspired by love of nature, love of the earth, love of animals and birds and plants and flowers and butterflies and bees and 8.7 million other species. So I would like the environmental movement to be driven, or not driven, but inspired by spirituality and not by fear. Now, we have a good scientific case against global warming, against demise of biodiversity, against so many other things. But science is not enough. Science is necessary. We need science. But science without spirituality is like Einstein said, scientist himself, is blind. And spirituality without science is lame. So we need science and spirituality together. One without the other leads us astray. If you have no spirituality with science, then you end up the kind of world we live in today. How can a scientist can invent nuclear weapons if there was a moral compass, spiritual compass, and values? There will be no such misuse of science as we have today. And I can list many other things which science has brought upon us, which are catastrophic. But if you have no science and only faith, it can be blind faith. And it can lead to dangerous fundamentalism. Whether it's Islamic fundamentalism or Hindu fundamentalism or Christian fundamentalism or whatever kind of fundamentalism. Blind faith. So we need science and we need spirituality together. And the environmental movement at this moment is mainly, largely subscribing to scientific view of the world, empirical view of the world, an empirical view of the problems, and not enough values, vision, and a positive inspiration behind the movement. And so we need to think, global warming or no global warming, what kind of life we want to live on this earth. Global warming is only a symptom, a mere symptom of the disease, not the cause. So why we are hijacked, the entire environmental movement is almost hijacked by just one single issue, which is urgent, I know. And I'm a great friend and devotee of Bill McKibben and all the other campaigners who are campaigning to stop the global warming and climate change. And my friend James Lovelock and I always talk about it. But when you have a mere scientific view, then you can exchange global warming with nuclear energy or some other technological fix. But when you have a spiritual view, then you say, whether there is a global warming or no global warming, what is our place and role in this world and on this planet Earth? What is our place? What kind of life we want to live? That is the kind of area which sustainability and spirituality can address together. Not mere sustainability and not mere spirituality, but together. And I learned that my ecology, my environmentalism, and my love of the earth began as in the introduction it was said that I walked. I walked from India. I was inspired by a British philosopher, Bertrand Russell. And he was no spiritual guide. And yet, when at age 90, he protested against the nuclear weapons and went to jail. And I was 25 years old, young man, in Bangalore, sitting in a cafe, reading this newspaper. The 90-year-old philosopher Bertrand Russell is put in jail because he is protesting against the bomb. And I said to my friend, then look, here is a man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young man, sitting here drinking coffee? Let's do something. I mean, you don't have to be a saint to inspire. You can be a scientist to inspire. And Bertrand Russell was a scientist, mathematician. And so then and there, inspired by Russell, my friend and I decided, let us go to these 4 nuclear capitals of the world. Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, D.C. In those days, these were the 4 nuclear capitals. To my shame, now even India is a nuclear country. A land of Buddha and Gandhi and Jainism and non-violence succumbing to the world forces. Anyway, so how do we go to these 4 nuclear capitals? We decided if we go by plane, nobody will pay any attention. Who are we? But if we walk, that will create interest. Human interest stories. You are walking from India, why? Everybody will ask. Then we can explain. And so, my friend and I went to a spiritual master, our guru, Vinoba Bhave. And we said to him that we want your blessings. We want to go for peace in the world. Walking to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, D.C. Vinoba said, what a good idea. I give you my blessings. But I give you one piece of advice. What is that? My advice to you is that if you are going for peace, peace comes from trust. And wars begin in fear. That's a pure spiritual teaching. So if you want to go for peace, you have to go trust in your heart. Trusting yourself, trusting people, trusting God, trusting the universe. And so go without any money in your pockets. I was a bit taken. I said, any money? Sometimes we might need a cup of tea. Or a postcard to write to you that we are all right. He said, no money. Because when you have no money, you will be forced to find some kind, hospitable person to give you hospitality. And they will ask you, why are you walking? You can be not vegetarian as well. And tell them why you are vegetarian. And why you want to make peace with animals and plants and the earth. Because making peace with the earth is prerequisite for making peace with people. If you are at war against nature, same mindset, same mentality will lead you to have war against people. So it was our guru's advice. And you know in India, if you have a guru, the relationship is a very devotional and very dedicated. It's not a dilettante relationship that you take the advice of a teacher when it suits you. So we said, all right. So we started our journey from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi. another great spiritual master who said, I want politics of India to be based in spiritual principles and not just mere political principles. Independence of India is a spiritual movement. So we started from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi with that spiritual foundation and walked through India, which was not too difficult. There were some blisters, but not too difficult. People knew, newspapers, stories, everybody welcome, hospitality. But when you came to the border of India and Pakistan, lots of our friends and colleagues and family members came to say goodbye, bid farewell. And one of my very close friends came to me and said, Satish, aren't you crazy? You are going to Pakistan, our enemy country. Muslims live there. We had 3 wars between India and Pakistan. And you are going without food, without money, walking. At least you will take some food with you. And he was prepared. He said, here is some food, packets of food. Please take some with you. And I looked at these packets. And I thought for a moment. And I said, my friend, thank you. You are very kind to think of me. But these packets of food are not packets of food. They are packets of mistrust. What am I going to say to my Pakistani hosts? That I did not trust you, whether you will feed me or not. So I have come with my own food all the way from India. That is not what Vinoba meant, that go with trust in your heart. So thank you. He was in tears. He gave me a big hug. I said, why are you crying? He said, Satish, this might be our last meeting. You are going to these Muslim countries, Christian countries, capitalist countries, wild places, deserts, mountains, snow. I don't know if you will survive. No money, no food, walking. This might be our last meeting. I may not see you, never see you again. I said to my friend, that my friend, if I die while walking for peace, that is the best kind of death that I can have. So I have no fear of death from today. And if I don't get food, I will say, this is my opportunity to fast. And if I don't get a shelter to sleep at night, I will say, tonight I'm going to sleep under million-star hotel. Who cares for 5-star hotel? When you can sleep under million-star hotel. So, no fear of hunger and no fear of death. And that was to me a sustaining spiritual awakening of that moment. And I walked into Pakistan, crossed the border, and a miracle happened. Miracles can happen when you have no money. Because if you have money, miracles are blocked. Your hotels are booked, your taxis are booked, your guides are booked, or your itinerary made, or your visa cards and check books and travelers' checks, everything is ready. There's no chance for something emerging miraculously. But when you have nothing planned, and you know nothing, what is going to happen, something is going to happen which will be miraculous. So as we walk into the border, I hear somebody calling our names. Are you Mr. Kumar, Mr. Menon, the 2 Indians who are coming to Pakistan for peace? Yes, we are. But we don't know anybody here. You know our names. He said, I read about you in our local newspaper that 2 Indians had left India to walk to Pakistan. And I'm for peace. All this idea of war between India and Pakistan is complete nonsense. We were one people. We must not fight. So I want to welcome you. I want to invite you to my house. Now just imagine my state of mind at that moment. 5 minutes ago, my friend was saying to me that you are going to an enemy country. And here is man, so-called Muslim, Pakistani, enemy. All the media will tell you, conditioning your mind, brainwashing you, that all those 180 million people living on the other side of the border are enemies. So I said to my friend at that moment, in my deep spiritual understanding, and I said to my friend that, look, if we come to Pakistan as Indians, we meet Pakistanis. If we come here as Hindus, we meet Muslims. But if we come here as human beings, we meet human beings. So what is our true identity? Who are we? Being a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jain, a communist, a capitalist, a Gandhian, an environmentalist, all these identities are secondary. A writer, a lawyer, an accountant, professor, secondary. Priest, vicar, secondary. The primary identity is we are children of God. We are all human beings. Whatever your religion, your politics, your skin of your color, whatever it is, we are all children of one God. That is our true identity. That is the spirituality which we need if we truly want a sustainable future. As long as we have these artificial divisions. Now, division is not the same as diversity. Biodiversity, cultural diversity, religious diversity. Diversity is a wonderful thing. If you had all one color in a garden, red roses, red roses, red roses, row after row of red roses, it would be a boring garden. We want many, many different kinds of roses, many, many different kinds of flowers, many, many different kinds of trees. In the same way, if everybody upon this earth was Christian, 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 and not even Catholic or Protestant or Methodist or any other Christian, but just Christian, 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 or Muslim, 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 or Hindu, 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 or capitalist, 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 or communist, 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 it would be a boring earth, boring place. It's wonderful that we have so many religions, so many languages, so many cultures, so many skins, colors, skin, so many languages. Even though many of you might be English, but you all have a unique face. You might have hair on your head, but you have a unique hair. You might speak English, but you have a unique voice. This is the wonder of God's creation, of diversity. Why we despise this diversity and want to create a monoculture of the mind. With that idea, this is what I call the spirituality idea. In my heart, I walked with my friend. And we went through Muslim countries and through other countries, through mountains of Khyber Pass and Afghanistan and deserts of Iran and snow-covered villages of Russia and Moscow and all the way to Paris and arrested there. There's a different story. And came to England, ticket given by French pacifists, and met Bertrand Russell. And he was 92 by that time. And he said, I never thought I will see you because I was 90. You wrote to me. We wrote to him at care of House of Lords, Lord Russell, and he got the letter. But he never replied. And he said to us, I never thought I will see you. I thought 2 Indians walking, don't know when they will get here. But I'm so glad to see you. And then he said, I heard that you have come without any money. How are you going to go to America? You can't walk on water. Can I give you some money? I said, Lord Russell, we cannot take money. We don't touch money until we get back home, for whatever time it takes. But we will need 2 tickets. But we don't want to fly. We don't want to fly. We have walked. The maximum we can go is go by boat. And Russell, in his most generous kindness, he may be an atheist or agnostic, if not atheist, but he was the most kind-hearted, generous person. Ruth talked about generosity. He was a very generous person. And he asked his secretary, please arrange 2 tickets for these 2 peace pilgrims. And so, not only ordinary 2 tickets, but in a very beautiful, comfortable cabin class, 2 tickets. We sailed in Queen Mary to New York. And we walked to Washington, D.C. And we ended our journey at the grave of John F. Kennedy. We started from the grave of Gandhi and ended at the grave of Kennedy to make the point that if you have trust in the gun, if you believe in the gun kills not only a bad guy, but it also kills the Gandhi. It also kills the Kennedy. So do not believe in the gun, believe in violence, believe in peace. So I learned this ecological sustainability by walking on this earth, being an earth pilgrim, a peace pilgrim, but also an earth pilgrim. If we live on this earth as pilgrims and not as tourists, there will be never any problem of sustainability. But if you live as a tourist and not as a pilgrim, then there will always be a problem of sustainability. However much technological fixes you can create. Because the tourist mind is a very egotistical mind. I want better hotel, best hotel for me, a best taxi for me, a best service, a best museum, always. And whatever you get as a tourist, and I've heard many tourists and met many tourists, always complain. Never good enough. But a pilgrim never complains. Whatever is given, gift. It's a gift from God. It's a gift from nature. It's a gift from the universe, Mother Earth, and gift from people. And so, 2.5 years walking, we stayed in palaces, in paupers' houses, in the sand, outdoor, indoor, sometimes food, sometimes no food. Whatever came, it was all celebration. And so, sustainability is truly a spiritual matter as well as it is a scientific matter. We need science, as I said in the beginning. The universe, principle of the universe is harmony. And knowledge of harmony is science. You have to know your universe, how all the species are related, how everything functions, evolution, gravity, complexity, Gaia, chaos, wonderful theories. We need to know all those things. That is science. The knowledge of harmony of the universe is science. And when you express that harmony of the universe through words, through music, through pictures, through architecture, through all the kind of works of art, the expression of harmony is arts. And practice of harmony in your daily life, in your family life, in your social life is religion. Practice of harmony is spirituality. Everyday life, spirituality is not when you go to the church on Sunday, or your mosque on Friday, or synagogue on Saturday, or a temple every morning, whatever. That is only symbolic, metaphorical, just to keep you in practice. But spirituality is in every breath. Spirituality is in every step. Spirituality is in every moment. How we live in our daily life, every moment of everyday life. Cooking is spiritual action. Gardening is spiritual action. In Buddhist tradition, breathing is spiritual action. And actually spirituality is related to breathing. Inspirare, expirare. You breathe, you are inspired. You breathe out. And when you stop breathing, you are expired. So when Richard Dawkins interviewed me once for Channel 4, we had a 1-hour discussion. And he said, but I don't believe in spirituality. I said, Mr. Dawkins, don't you believe in breathing? What is spirituality? But that which you cannot measure. Love. Can you measure, Mr. Dawkins, can you measure how much respect and love and friendship I have for you? Can you measure it? Can you count? You cannot. So science can measure. Spirituality can give you meaning. So measure and meaning together is much better than having just only one or the other. Why you have only half when you can get the whole? So spirituality is an essential ingredient of sustainability. And if we are only driven by fear, as I started my talk with, and only empirical evidence, which even Jonathan Porritt, who is a great environmentalist, has written in Resurgence, in the last issue of Resurgence, about this. The environmental movement has failed to change the direction, change the paradigm of our society. Could we have been using the same tools of empirical scientific data, which everybody in government and business and industry and so on use? We have to have something more, and that is some vision, a greater vision, and that greater vision can come from spirituality. So in this learned audience where you are all much better knowledgeable than myself, I don't need to say this, but I'm speaking only to remind you. So let's get together and not be shy to talk about the S word. I know the intellectual world there of Richard Dawkins and many other, Cambridge and Oxford and other big universities are full of very empirical and very rational, pure reason is guiding them. But I think that is not enough. We don't need to be shy of using the S word, and we have to proclaim that without love of the earth, earth cannot be sustained. And we love the earth, we are pilgrims of the earth, and want to live on this earth joyfully, not just sustainably. The sustainable word is just a little negative. We want to live joyfully. In India, we call it Ananda. You know the word Ananda, Sat, Chit, Ananda. The reality, consciousness, and joy. These are the three essential ingredients of our existence. Reality, consciousness, and joy, Ananda. When Indians become Hindu monks, they change their name. And their name always ends with the word Ananda, joy. Yogananda, Muktananda, Shivananda, all these names. Why? Like Yogananda. You do yoga in the morning, yoga in the evening, yoga on the weekend, yoga every day, but you are miserable. What's good of doing yoga? Yoga must accompany with Ananda, joy. And joy is a spiritual quality, according to Indian thinking. Joy is a spiritual quality. The bliss is a spiritual quality. So let's bring that joy, that Ananda, that bliss, that celebration in our environmental movement, in our green ecology sustainability movement. Then I think our movement will make a bigger stride and a bigger impact on this world. Thank you very much. Questions? You know, I will stand and...
we have a mic as well.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, reflections? Yes, we have one already.
Yeah.
I was wondering what your teacher said to you when you returned to India.
You have to read in my book.
How did you get back? How did you get back?
How did I get back? Both questions, very good. We received an invitation from Japan, from a Buddhist master called Fuji-san, named after Fuji mountain, Fuji-san. And he said, you are Gandhian peace pilgrim working against nuclear weapons. How can you end your peace pilgrimage without making pilgrimage to Hiroshima. So we will arrange everything, all your passage, travels, everything. Please come to Japan. So we went to Japan, we walked from Tokyo to Hiroshima. And then they helped us to get back to India. But when I got back to India, I went to our guru, and he was a very humorous person, very sort of sense of humor. He told me a story. He said, there was a Hindu god called Vishnu, and one day in his joy, light mood, he said, I want my angels to go around the world, make a journey, and come back, and the one who comes first, I'll give the special blessing. And you know, in all Indian gods and angels have an animal companion. It's a kind of animal god relationship. So someone on swan, somebody on eagle, somebody on lion, somebody on elephant, somebody on all these things. The animal which is with Lord Ganesh, who has elephant face, but his companion animal is a mouse. So he said, I can never make this journey around the universe on my mouse, when all these people are flying on their eagles and swans and so on. And so he made a little Om, which means the universe, and put Vishnu's image in the middle, and went around that on his mouse, and came back to Lord Vishnu and said, I'm the first. And then slowly, slowly, one by one, other angels appear, and then they're all waiting for the blessing. Who was first? And in the end, Lord Vishnu says, it was Ganesh. Everybody says, how can that be? We have been flying on our fast birds and animals, and this little god on his mouse, how can he do? He explained, the essence of the universe is here. You don't have to go anywhere. He was a true carbon saver. So my guru told the story, but he said he was very pleased. He was very pleased that we did without money and for 2.5 years, not a single day of illness. But when you are walking, you are well exercised, you are hungry, you eat well, if you get the food, you sleep well, and you walk. And so we are very healthy, and reception in all countries, communist, capitalist, all countries, wonderful. That's how we got back.
Who'd like to go next? Yes.
Do you think that there is a responsibility or even a role for scientists to engage with communities of spirituality? And if so, how could that engagement occur?
That's a very good question. I think this kind of conference is a very good forum. And I'm sure many of you are either both or some scientists and some theologians. I think we need to have a greater dialogue between theologians and scientists. And not only theologians, but truly spiritual people. Because spirituality is more than theology. Because theology is more a kind of intellectual discipline, whereas spirituality is a practice, it's a living. So I differentiate between religious experience and religious institutions. And what is more important is the religious experience. And religious institutions can be of help if they are in the right way, or can be hindrance if they are in the wrong way. So it's not the religious institutions which is so important, as the religious experience, the spiritual experience. And for that, people like the Dalai Lama, he organizes events and dialogue between meditators of his discipline from Tibet and the scientists. I think some of the scientists are based in Cambridge University, and they come together. So those kinds of dialogues, we need to develop many more. And at Schumacher College, we teach courses on science and spirituality. And there are many scientists, now not in mainstream, but there are many scientists. Just now, we had a very wonderful scientist from the United States called Bruce Lipman. And he wrote a book called Biology of Belief. Wonderful scientist, a biologist, but deeply spiritual. Then we have a great tradition in our past, which is forgotten. Wolfgang von Goethe, he was a great scientist, but we have forgotten. We just call him a poet, and we forget his science. Leonardo da Vinci, he was a scientist, but we just call him a painter and not scientist. So we have forgotten the spiritual, holistic tradition of science. And even in our time, our own time, we have many scientists who are deeply spiritual. So we need to sort of celebrate them and bring them forward rather than just all publicity to Richard Dawkins and his sort of small coterie. So that's what we need to do.
And let me just add then, if you want to find out more about that, just go to the Faraday Institute website where there's all kinds of information about biology, science and religion. It's going on all the time here in Cambridge. Yes?
Just to follow up on that, I was fascinated that the Ecology Society of America, which very much has had involvement with ecology and economics over the past, 20, 30 years, but this year sent out a survey asking people if they were prepared to engage with faith-based groups, and if so, on what level. I think that they were surprised that they had more than 800 respondents.
Really?
And so I think things are changing, and I think that's really exciting.
Good, thank you very much. Yeah.
I think there may be time for just one more remark, because I want to leave time for Sharon to say a little bit about the resurgence of meditation. Anyone would like to take the chance for a final remark, comment, question?
Yes, yeah.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for such an inspiring story and talk. I think you speak with great authority and great experiences behind you. And just on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for the inspiration you've given us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.